Welcome once again to the BCM Game of the Month, this time for August 2015. Hello everyone, this is Andrew Martin here. Welcome along. And firstly, I'd like to apologise for the slightly late release of this video. I've been away at the British Championship in Warwick for the last 2 weeks, and that's a pretty full-on job. Nevertheless, that enabled me to observe plenty of interesting chess close at hand, and I've got a fascinating game for you this month, and a very original one too. So here we are, we're going to enter the weird and wacky world of Grandmaster Simon Williams, and we're going to see him in action from the British Championship with the white pieces against John Emms. Williams these days seems to want to embrace all manner of bizarre opening systems in order to create an original position to throw his opponent onto his own resources as early as possible. And he seems willing to do it even against Grandmasters. You'll see what I mean, as in a relatively normal Benoni position, Williams decides to play the weird move here, Bishop d2. I mean, clearly this move is not a mistake, but I don't think it's been played very often. White's idea? Well, whatever black plays, he wants to put that bishop on c3, whether black plays bishop g7 here, or the move as played by John Emms, d6. Bishop c3, and as you'll see, this game gets even weirder as Williams strikes out on the king side with h3, bishop g7, and now g4, creating a wholly original position on move 6. This sort of thing can only be played by very strong players. I mean, don't try this at home if you're the average club player, because it's simply not going to work. All the computer programs I've run this game through show advantage to black at this stage, presumably that they like black's compact position, and the fact that white's going to have trouble finding a safe haven for his king. But that doesn't trouble Williams too much. He's just playing on Emms's nerves in the opening. You know, what can you see? What can you find? Refute my idea. And it's not that easy. So black decided to avoid g5, and white struck out on the other side of the board, a4. It's not clear what white is achieving with all these flank operations. Maybe he's restraining black's pawn levers in the long run, but a4 looks like another one of those extravagant moves, and of course it makes it far more difficult for white to cast on the queen side. So naturally enough, black breaks in the centre. A reaction on the flank deserves a counter blow in the centre. White plays e4, black castles. White goes bishop g2, and black takes on d5. And this is the first puzzling moment in the game for me, as Emms decides to play knight a6, rejecting the natural move rook e8 here. And after knight e2, just go queen e7, keeping the white king in the middle of the board. I think this would have given white more problems to solve than he actually encountered in the game. But Emms, on his own resources, plays knight a6, a typical Benoni move, and after knight e2, black played knight c7. White decided to play knight a3, and black played b6. So black's thinking with this move to activate the queen's bishop. He's thinking perhaps of playing rook b8, a6, and then b5. There are plenty of Benoni ideas on the table, and at this stage, black is doing fine in this game. But after knight c4, once again, Emms rejects the most natural continuation, which for me has to be bishop a6. The fact that he doesn't play natural Benoni moves in the opening of this game shows he's been a bit rattled by Williams' opening play, and of course by Simon's reputation. We all know that despite the wacky ideas, Simon's a fantastic attacking player, so if you give him even a sniff of the initiative, you know, you're going to be playing right into his hands. But all the same, bishop a6 looks good, and if knight e3 as per the game, black just goes rook e8 again, with the idea that if white castles, black has the cruncher, knight f takes d5 here, exploiting the looseness of the knight on e2. And for instance, if white goes queen d2 here, trying to keep his options open, then bishop takes e2 is a strong move. And white doesn't have a very easy recapture. Well, he's probably got to take back with the king, but that's not so nice. So Emms decides to play bishop b7. I mean, this was actually in the last round of the tournament, and it could be that Black was simply very tired. It's a 2-week tournament. He's been trying very, very hard. You know, Simon's the younger man, so it's easy to see that John Emms could be tired. So bishop b7 is a little bit of a tired move, in my view. White played knight to e3, and Black played rook to e8. Knight to f4. That's an unfortunate move, but how else is he going to, in the long run, defend this pawn? So knight to f4, and now Black played b5. So far, Black probably hasn't played the most active move at a couple of opportunities. But this time, I think b5 is probably a mistake. I think what Black should do is keep it resolutely central and play knight e4 in this position. He probably just didn't want to allow the exchange of dark squared bishops. But this position is not that comfortable for White, I promise you. The idea is that Black's made room for his queen to come out, either to f6 or g5, which highlights a lot of weaknesses in the White position. For instance, if c4, queen f6, queen c1, keeping his game alive by tricks, well, Black just plays the calm king g8, and if knight d3, queen d4. This type of centralisation is the right way to exploit White's extravagant opening play. But when you're on your own at the board, even grandmasters don't play the best moves all the time. b5 looks plausible, but it actually allows the White king to scramble to safety here after bishop a5, queen d7 and castles. And now I think White is basically okay. It's just a very original position. So Black played rook e7, White played bishop d2, and Black put his knight in on e4. Better late than never, and this looks like a good move. So strong did Simon think that knight, he took it off. If he retains his bishop, well, I think Black just goes rook e8, and that looks nice for Black. You know, all his pieces are in good play, and White's position looks much looser, so I would imagine Black's a little bit better there. When he takes the knight, Black recaptures with the rook. White went queen f3. Again, I think Black is probably a little bit better just after rook e8. And if c3, probably queen to e7. Just keep it all central and hope that White's going to feel the absence of the light squared bishop. You know, White certainly has some light squared weaknesses around his king. What happens? Perhaps running short of time already, due to solving all the original problems that White's been setting. Black strikes out with rook takes f4, an exchange sack intending knight d4. But this is a misguided way to play the position. There was no need for Black to do this at this stage. Now, of course, Black has some threats. He's threatening immediately knight to e2 check winning the queen, so Simon defends. But Emms thought probably that he's getting a good initiative here after bishop e5, queen e4 and now f5. Trying to get to grips with the White king. Trying to wrest the initiative back from Simon Williams. A good ploy, but as we'll see, Black doesn't have enough for the exchange here. He comes in with f4. I mean, perhaps he could have tried in this position king h8. That was another way, but f4 is definitely the most attacking try. It just turns out that knight c4 is good for White. Suddenly the tactics are all working in White's favour, and I guess you could call Emms a bit unlucky here. Well, he strikes with knight takes c2. Williams, of course, takes off the dark squared bishops, and d takes e5 was played. If Black had played knight takes e1, it's amazing, but the tactics all work in White's favour. He plays knight takes d7, Black takes on g2, White recaptures, Black takes on d5 check, f3, and everything's going to hinge on whether that knight on d7 can be trapped. Well, firstly, Black's got to guard the f6 square, which he does with king f7, but now rook a6 extricates the knight. And if king e7, we kind of have a miraculous idea here, bishop takes f4, but it's good enough. And if g5, rook takes d6. Black cannot rescue himself tactically in this position. His pieces are simply too exposed. So after d takes e5, Black's position takes a turn for the worse. Williams jettisons the rook on a1. The queen comes into e4, and now white is really in his element. All of the white pieces are about to point towards the black king, and white has numerous threats. Queen takes g6, rook e7, rook e6, bishop c3. Black can't defend against them all. He went king f7. This looks like a bit of time trouble to me. Queen takes f4, check, king g8, and now Simon piles in with queen e4, knight b3, rook e7, as mentioned, queen d6, rook e6. Everything's working in white's favour. Rook takes g6 check, king h8, rook takes h6 check, and Emms resigned with his 3 queenside pieces looking on. Well, an entertaining game, and a game that gives us pause for thought. You know, the last thing you want to do against Simon Williams is to give him the initiative. But, you know, he'll always give you a chance. Emms had several chances in this game and he failed to take them. So when you're playing Williams, you know, it's probable he will give you a chance. You just got to take the opportunity when it arises, because if you don't, you end up getting pulverised, as here.